think one thing that this manga can really show is that brute strength never wins against technique, and also outplaying always wins over technique. Or maybe in this case, science always wins over blades. Who knows? But yeah, this is the Dr. Stone chapter 48. A pretty badass cover page, as we see a moment where uh, Kazaki began to create these katanas through directions through Senku. Even though Senku was not, I mean, they're not Japanese swords craftsmen, but he did say spear will decide the victor. So while he does say many different science things, Kazaki can realize that the cutting edge is hard while the spine remains stubble. So with that, they created blades that can destroy the stone of the other goons. However, Hyuga, wielding his spear with techniques, actually managed to knock off some katanas from the other guys. This proves a little bit that another thing that Senku said. They may have the katana swords, but that doesn't mean they are katana fighters. And Hyuga is definitely a spear user, a guy with immense technique. So in a way, as a man an untrained man holding a sword can of course not fight for real against someone who is used to fighting with a technique of something else. So that's very likely. So Gen appears and just pulls that if you all crush them at once, you can win. However, he is saying that in order for them all to attack together, but Magma, being hot-headed, does not see that. So Kohaku tries to find an opening. Unfortunately, Hyuga can even use his spear to open attacks. He's using a special technique that almost creates a crescent moon, where he basically twists the spear and cuts right through it. It's basically like the twisting motion of his hands amplified along the length of the pipe. That causes the spear to trace out a large circle in the air. So you can pinpoint the spearhead. When it looks like Kohaku will be severed, suddenly the spear tops break apart, and someone wonders how to do that. Hyuga then realizes, I mean, this guy is actually smarter than he looks. Well, he may be a dragon for Tsukasa, so of course he's smarter than he looks. He actually figures out that it was that when Gen actually touched his spear, it wasn't for just touching it. No, that was the moment he sabotaged the spear, saying that you are a snake. So realizing the jig is up, Gen shows an ugly face, saying, "Well, I guess the jig is up." And then it turns out Senku and Gen even planned this. Senku gave a special mission to Suka to find Gen and give him something. Because he knew that Gen was a mentalist, it would leave a trace, and Suka is the great detective. As she walked around the field, she actually saw something. Senku would have actually noticed this with his knowledge of natural science, but Suka, who has played among flowers every day, despite being a bit nearsighted, understood intuitively the road that led her towards Gen, and that was the black nightshade, because apparently it's a natural for it to bloom in the shade, and every time Gen went away, he scattered the nightshade, which is his favorite flower, the same flower he did when Magma's trick. So Suka found him, gave him a trick that he then used to sabotage the spear with a fine trick. As he goes back to Senku's side, he says that his black nightshade is his flower, and in the language of flower, it means liar. All the while he pulled the nightshade, he was always lying. With that, the blade of science cut through the spear user. He no longer has a spear, although he does have a bow staff, but now the other gang has katanas, and even with technique with a bow staff, I don't think that can win over a katana. Once again, this round goes to the kingdom of science, with the mind over matter, so to speak, overpowers technique. Or where mind overpowers technique. It's truly a nice effect to it all. So all in all, a very good chapter, and pretty short but sweet. I mean, not very much big happened, but was some nice trickery there with some building, and even for the fact that Suka get her moments to shine here again. That's very adorable every time it does. I think now again is officially on Senku's side because he cannot return to Tsukasa's. Now all that is left is Senku's two pals, because now I'm a bit worried about them. How are they gonna escape from Tsukasa? I hope they haven't been brainwashed by his cult. But I guess only time, sorry, will tell. You give me your thoughts if you have any.